it's Chi-Town, it's Bears on the flight. Let me go tune in to Keek on the mic. He gon' make sure we get our news and highlights. When you get on YouTube, you better hit the likes.
When will the Chicago Bears get out of their own way? Hey, what's going on, Bears fans? Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Keek on the Mic, the podcast all about the Chicago Bears. As always, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Bears fans, make sure you also do me another huge favor, but also hit the like button on today's episode of Keek on the Mic. Before I go any further with today's episode, I want to give a huge shout out to the sponsor of today's video, and that is BetUS. As always, Bears fans, make sure you guys head over to betus.com and use promo code YouTube150 for 150% deposit bonus up to $2,000, while also getting 125% second and third deposits as well. Bears fans, as we all know, it's Packers week. The Green Bay Packers have dominated this series and have beaten the Chicago Bears 10 straight times. They're looking for their 11th straight win when they head to Soldier Field this Sunday to take on the Chicago Bears. If you guys are feeling confident that the Bears can finally snap this losing streak to the Green Bay Packers, the Packers are currently the 6-point favorite to beat the Chicago Bears once again. I am not too optimistic. I want to see the Chicago Bears actually beat the Green Bay Packers before I give them that vote of confidence. It's been a struggle against this Packers team for years and years and years, especially against Matt LaFleur being the head coach. But if you feel confident in the Chicago Bears beating the Packers, you guys can head over to BetUS and make that bet. All right, Bears fans. So we have to talk a little bit more about the situation going around in terms of quarterback Caleb Williams. And obviously I came out the other day that there were rumors and reports about players, going up to, Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus basically requesting to possibly bench quarterback Caleb Williams due to his struggles and maybe basically just trying to protect him. Obviously, Cole Kmet came out in his podcast saying, hey, that's not true. Tyler Scott went on Adam Rank's podcast and said, that's not true. Obviously, Matt Eberflus came out in his press conference and said, no, Caleb Williams is our starting quarterback. But now this is where things started to get a little bit interesting because all those players said this, they said that, they said it's not true. We love Caleb Williams. He's a rookie. We will get better together and he will continue to grow as a player. But this morning on the show Get Up, Adam Schefter, ESPN's Adam Schefter, actually reported on Thursday morning on Get Up that there were conversations. And he said that I don't know how close they got, but yes, there were conversations about whether one of the solutions was to bench the quarterback. And he basically said, but to bench him, to give him a break, to try and save him. So what I want to do is just show you this quick little segment on this morning's episode of Get Up, because Dan Orlowski absolutely lost it when Adam Schefter basically told them that there were conversations about benching quarterback Caleb Williams after the 3-game losing streak. Check this out, Bears fans.
This is an organizational disaster.
Utter disaster. And I want to make sure I ask Schefty something clearly. Is it accurate to say that there were conversations that they were going to sit Caleb down?
There were conversations. I don't know how close they got, but yes, there were conversations about whether one of the solutions was to bench the quarterback. But to bench him, to give him a break, to try to save him from himself. I'm just telling you, Dan.
This is why it's an utter disaster. How about Chicago, you coach him? Instead of throwing him to the side and sweeping the problem under the rug.
They may ruin him before they coach him up.
Chicago thinks they're dating Caleb Williams. You're married to him, okay? So I want to make sure I understand this. So you pass on the quarterbacks from 2 years ago, the Bryce Young and CJ Stroud situation, to get picks to rebuild this roster. And you passed on those guys because you really wanted Caleb Williams. You were willing to wait for the #1 pick for Caleb Williams. And then you rebuild this roster with a ton of talent. You draft Caleb Williams. You decide to start Caleb Williams. And the first time that the adversity hits, it's like, well, we'll push you over here and you don't matter anymore because the other stuff is more important. You're married to him, guys. When the going gets tough, the tough get going. Who's tough in the building? You coach them through this stuff. You go, we're going to get through this together. It's just like in marriage. When your kids are losing their minds or life is tough, you don't got enough. It's not like you bail on your wife. No, we're going to get through this together. What happened to coaching these kids? I understand he's not playing well. Coach him, develop him, figure out how to get him to play better instead of throwing him to the side.
And they have fired 2 offensive coordinators in this calendar year. They don't know how to coach people. They don't know how to develop people. They always get it wrong.
Once again, Bears fans, what a shit show. What a circus that we have in the Chicago Bears right now. And just like Dan Orlowski, he put it very perfectly. The Chicago Bears are an utter disaster. And you know, just like Adam Schefter reported, he says, you know, they were going to bench him or consider benching Caleb Williams to give him a break to try and save him. And Dan Orlowski makes a solid point in this morning's segment of Get Up when talking about the utter disaster that is the Chicago Bears. Why, for once in your life, why don't you just try to coach the guy? For years and years and years and years, it's just been the Chicago Bears way forever. And this is why no quarterback has ever been able to succeed here with the Chicago Bears, is because their inability to coach these guys the right way, to develop these guys the right way. Dan Orlowski actually put it perfectly. He's like, you are married to quarterback Caleb Williams. You are not dating Caleb Williams. This is your future. This is your franchise quarterback. How about you actually coach him out of his mistakes, right? Obviously, the last couple of weeks, Caleb Williams has not been playing good football for the Chicago Bears. He's holding on to the football too long. It's leading into unnecessary sacks. It seems like he's playing timid and gun shy. But it seems to me all those issues is a coaching fix. That seems to me that Matt Eberflus, Shane Waldron were too much in Caleb Williams' head. And that's why Caleb Williams, the Caleb Williams that we fell in love with at USC, and the reason why we drafted him #1 overall, that's why we're not seeing that Caleb Williams, because the coaches, they're coaching that out of him. So Dan Orlowski, thank you for speaking your mind, you know, in a program where everyone is actually watching. And just tell them the truth, because this is exactly what Chicago Bears fans have been saying for years. And this was my big concern with bringing back head coach Matt Eberflus. This is exactly why Ryan Poles should have canned Matt Eberflus, brought in a guy like Cliff Kingsbury or maybe even Ben Johnson to be the head coach of the Chicago Bears to develop and coach Caleb Williams the right way. Obviously, Matt Eberflus, Ryan Poles, they made the right decision to get rid of Shane Waldron. Now Thomas Brown has been promoted to the offensive coordinator, which I feel like it's not going to be night and day. I don't think he's going to make a massive improvement, but I think it does improve this Chicago Bears offense. And here is the reason why I say this when we're talking about Thomas Brown. Thomas Brown is going to hold his players accountable. He mentioned about holding his players accountable in the film room, on the practice field, doing things intentionally, because if you make practice hard and you hold players accountable leading up to the game, it makes the games that much easier. Obviously, Thomas Brown is also from the McVay tree. Sean McVay has given Thomas Brown the vote of confidence many different times. And that should get Bears fans excited, because obviously he's no Sean McVay, but he does come from that Sean McVay tree. And obviously he won a Super Bowl with the Los Angeles Rams, I believe, as the running back or tight ends coach. And that's another thing about Thomas Brown. He's going to get Cole Kmet, the tight ends, more involved. And that's going to help a struggling quarterback in Caleb Williams. He's going to probably have a better game plan on how to get DeAndre Swift and the running game going, maybe by more motions, just being more intentional about how they want to get the run game going and how they want to attack opposing defenses in the run game as well. Like I said, I don't think it's going to be a night and day thing, but I think for the long-term success of Caleb Williams, Thomas Brown is the right guy for the job. I know there's been a lot of Bears fans saying, well, he was the passing game coordinator, and look at the passing concepts. They were terrible. Thomas Brown made it very clear. Even Caleb Williams made it very clear that this was basically Shane Waldron's show. Thomas Brown was just in the background. He wasn't really even doing anything. He had no communication really with the players here and there. I think he did like meetings on Saturdays leading up to the games, but this was Shane Waldron's show. Now Thomas Brown steps up to the forefront and now gets the opportunity to, you know, run the same offense, but give his ideas on how they should actually attack opposing defenses. So I think it was a really good move for the Chicago Bears. I don't even look at his tenure with the Carolina Panthers, because it was on and off. That situation with the Carolina Panthers was an absolute shit show. It was when Frank Reich was the head coach of the Panthers. He gave Thomas Brown play calling duties and he took it back and then went back and forth. So Thomas Brown was never really the long-term offensive coordinator for that Carolina Panthers team. Now he gets 8 or 9 games to prove not only to the Chicago Bears, but the rest of the National Football League, how bright of an offensive mind he could actually be. I also want to mention that Thomas Brown actually had a head coaching interview. Obviously, he interviewed for multiple offensive coordinator jobs as well, including the Chicago Bears. But now he gets the opportunity here with the Bears for these last 8 and 9 games. And I'm really excited for him to have the opportunity because, to Dan Orlovsky's point, I think Thomas Brown will be direct with Caleb Williams and his struggles, but he will also be able to communicate with Caleb Williams in a different way and hopefully be aggressive. He talked about letting Caleb Williams be Caleb Williams and letting him use his God-given talent when it's necessary, right? So I'm excited for this opportunity for Thomas Brown. I'm excited to see what he's able to do with Caleb Williams, but the Chicago Bears just can't get out of their own way, and this proves it. Darren Orlovsky, they are an utter disaster, and I just wanted to come on here really quick and just share this with you guys because it seems like we just keep going back and forth. We reported the other day saying that veteran players went to Matt Eberflus and Ryan Poles and said they wanted quarterback Caleb Williams bench, and then Tyler Scott and Cole Kmet and even Matt Eberflus came out and basically denied that claim and rumor. But now Adam Schefter is coming out and saying, no, it was true. I'm not sure how far the conversations got, but they did discuss that as a solution. But that is not the way to get things done. That is not the way to develop your quarterback. Yes, Caleb Williams has been playing bad in his own right, but it's not all his fault. The offensive line has issues. Shane Waldron has issues. You still have a lame duck head coach in Matt Eberflus. It is not all his fault. So Dan Orlovsky is absolutely right. Learn how to actually develop. And this has been an issue for years and years to years. And this proves my point that the issue is Matt Eberflus. And it sucks because, once again, he's on his third offensive coordinator in Thomas Brown. And it sucks to see that if Thomas Brown comes in here and he revives this offense and quarterback Caleb Williams, that may save Matt Eberflus's job. And to me, that kind of sucks. And I hate to say that, but I think the problem is still head coach Matt Eberflus. The Bears need to do some soul searching and find a offensive genius that can not only be a good play caller, but also be a good leader as well. And that is hard to find, right? Obviously, when you look in the past, the Bears tried to do that with Mark Trestman. I feel like Mark Trestman was a pretty good offensive play caller, but he wasn't a good leader of men. Obviously, Matt Nagy, I feel like he was a good leader, but just an inconsistent play caller and wasn't really good in terms of running an offense. Now, when you're moving forward with the Chicago Bears, how the Chicago Bears can finally get out of this mess and get out of their own way, they need to find a good offensive play caller and a good leader. Some candidates that possibly come to mind is maybe Ben Johnson. Seems like he's a really well-liked guy, a good leader, and obviously a really good offensive play caller. And obviously a guy like Cliff Kingsbury, a really good offensive mind. He has experience being a head coach. I feel like, whether you agree or not, I think he had a pretty decent stint with the Arizona Cardinals when he was the head coach. So those are a couple of names that come to mind among others. But the Chicago Bears have to get out of their own way and learn how to actually develop a quarterback, because we can't go through the cycle once again where we ruin another young, really, really good quarterback with potential like Caleb Williams. The trend has to end with Caleb Williams. It has to. We cannot go through this again in another couple of years. So Ryan Poles, whether he likes it or not, we all know that Matt Eberflus is not the guy. And I'm telling you, if they retain Matt Eberflus at the end of this, I am really scared and nervous about the future of Caleb Williams, because if you retain Matt Eberflus, I just think we're going to continue to go through that same cycle, and it really, really concerns me. But once again, I just want to come on here really quick and just share with you guys what Adam Schefter had to say on Get Up this morning. How do you guys react to this news? Let me know down below how you're feeling in the comment section. But as always, Bears fans, make sure you continue to hit that subscribe button and the notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Make sure you follow me on all my social media platforms, and make sure you share this episode of Geek on the Mic with every single Bears that you know. And make sure you also head over to betus.com and use promo code YouTube150 for 150% deposit bonus up to $2,000, and also get 125% second and third deposits if you feel that the Chicago Bears can finally snap that losing streak to the Green Bay Packers at Soldier Field this weekend. Other than that, be back for our all new Bears podcast right here on Geek on the Mic. Thanks, guys, and as always, bear down.
You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't kick on the mic. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't kick on the mic. You can go and subscribe cause I be on it right. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't kick on the mic.